Okay, guys, we're moving on today. We're actually going to kind of do two lessons today. I'm just going to talk about what an outlier is, and we're going to do a few examples of this. And then we're going to get into dot plots. And the homework is actually going to be on dot plots, so we will not be doing the homework on outliers. But anyway, let's chat what an outlier is, all right? All right, so an outlier is basically a data value that is much bigger or smaller than the other values in the data set. Okay? And that's what it takes a look at. So if we look at this first data set here, okay, and we're looking for the mean, the median, and the mode, all right, we can see that clearly 50 is an outlier. And let's go ahead and organize our data here, all right? So the first number is 10, and then 11, and then 12. And I like to cross them off as I go, and it looks like what? 14 is next, 15, 16, there are two 17s, and then we have a 50. So clearly 50 is an outlier. And what an outlier is this value is much bigger than the rest of the data set. We have a nice cluster of data from 10 to 17. But what this outlier is going to do is skew our data if we wanted to use the mean, okay? And you're going to kind of see how this works here, okay? So with the outlier, let's go ahead and find the mean, okay? And when I add all of these up, I'm going to get 162. And I'm going to divide that by 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 162 divided by 9 is 18. So with the outlier, the mean is 18. Okay? Now, without the outlier, I'm going to add all of these up, excluding that. I'm not going to put 50 into it. So this is with, okay, and this is without. This is without. So let's add all of these up. All right, when I do that, I get 112. And now I'm going to divide that by 8 because there's 8 values in the data set. And when I divide that by 8, I end up with 14. So without the outlier, the mean is 14, right? And clearly 14 is a better representation of this data set than 18. 18 is not even in the data set. The cluster is right here from 10 to 17. So this is why we don't use the mean when we have an outlier. All right, generally, we want to use the median, okay? And look what happens to the median, all right, when we use the outlier, okay? 50, 17, 11, and I end up with 15. So with the outlier, the median is 15, okay? I'm going to change colors here. Without the outlier, I'm going to start at 17, all right? And we have right there, if we add those two up and divide by 2, we're going to end up with 14.5. So see how close these numbers are, whether it's with the outlier or without the outlier? They are very close in proximity on the number line, right? And generally, the outlier will not change the mode. It won't. So the outlier is still 17 on both of these. So just generally speaking, what measure center is most affected by it? The mean. The mean is most affected by it. All right, how is the range affected? Well, let's see. The range, and I'm going to do that work over here, with the outlier is 50 minus 10 is 40. Without the outlier is 17 minus 10 is 7, right? So it went from 40 to 7. So that outlier causes us problems, you see, in the data set. All right, so what are the best measures of center to use? Well, all right, best measure of center with an outlier, all right? So we want to use the mean with no outlier. No outlier, use the mean, okay? We want to use the median when we have an outlier. Okay. And we want to use the mode when there's mostly, the numbers are repeating. They mostly repeat. Okay. So mean, no outlier. Median, when there is an outlier. And when we have a bunch of single numbers, and when they repeat, that's when we want to use that. Okay, a lot of times there isn't an outlier here, okay? So that's very important to remember. Okay, so let's take a peek at these, all right? And let's go ahead and do the mean, median, and mode right here on number 2. And let's go to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is organize my data, okay? And then that will tell me if I have an outlier or not, right? Okay, so we have 22. And then next will be 42, I think. Then if I look again, the next one is 44, 45, and then 48, right there, 54, 56, and 60. So there's my data set from least to greatest, okay? And let's go to work here. So, all right, first set, do we have an outlier here? All right, well, I think we do. I think we do. We have a nice cluster of data from 42 to 60. I think that is going to be our outlier right there. So what am I going to use here? I'm going to use the median, right? So I'm going to find the middle number. I'm going to exclude that. So with the outlier, I'm going to use it with it, right? 42 and 56, 54, and right there they are. So let's add those two together. 45 and 48. Okay. And let's get the calculator rolling. 45 plus 48 is 93. And I'm going to divide 93 by 2, and I end up with 46.5 as the median, right? So the median is the best representation with that, right? Because we have an outlier of 22, all right? So, very important to remember that, all right? I would like to move on to the next deal, so let's flip the page here and see if we can get into another problem here. Okay, and let's take a peek at number 4, okay? The number of hours Sarah spent, has worked each week for the past 7 weeks, all right? There they are. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our data here, all right, and see what do we want to use, what measure of center we want to use here, okay? So the measure of center, let's see here, 27. And I got a bunch of 36s here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 36s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have a 38. Well, you tell me, what measure of center would be the best here? All right, clearly I'm going to use the mode because 36 is going to represent that data set the best because there are multiple 36s, and in fact there are 5 of them, right? So that's what we're looking at, okay? And I skipped number 3 because it was just a normal mean, and I wanted to skip down to this. Okay. All right, let's see if we can do one more here. Okay, and let's take a look at number 5, right? Find the mean, median, and mode of the cost per reefs, all right? Let's get organized least to greatest here, okay? I see an 18. I see a 35. I see a 39. And in fact, I see two of them. I see a 48, I see a 55, and I see a 60. Okay? So let's start with our mean. All right, let's start with our mean. And our mean is going to be, let's add them up, right? And when we add them up, I get 294, and I'm going to divide that by 4, 5, 6, 7. And when I take it and divide it by 7, I end up with $42. Okay? Let's go to our median. The median is going to be 39. And let's go to our mode. And our mode is also 39. Okay? Now, we didn't talk about an outlier in this set, so let's go ahead and talk about it. Do you see one? I do. I see that 18 kind of doesn't fit into my data set. So it's kind of an outlier. It's skewing my data, right? Skewing my data. Just a little bit. Okay, so let's take a peek at this. If there is an outlier, how does removing it affect the mean, the median, and the mode cost per wreath? Okay, well, we clearly can see 18 is it, so let's go ahead and just talk about this. And this will probably be the last one, right? The biggest thing out of this is when there's an outlier, we want to use the median. So let's go back through this and add them up. And when I add all of these up, excluding 18, okay, excluding 18, I'm going to get 276, and I'm going to divide that by 6. So these added together is 276, and that ends up being 46. So look what it did. It moved our mean by 4 places. Without the outlier, the median is now 39 plus 48, okay, and 39 plus 48, let's use our calculator, 39 plus 48, and I'll put that there, equals, divided by 2, is 43.5. So this is our median without the outlier. So did it move it? A little bit. What did it do to our mode? Well, to our mode, it did nothing. The mode is still 39. Okay? So, in this case, all right, it didn't move it a whole lot, but still it moved it 4 places. It affected the median a little bit by, 4.5, and the mode stayed the same, right? But again, if we have the outlier, we want to use the median. No outlier, we want to use the mean, okay? And that's the deal with that. Okay. All right. So, let's take a peek at homework number 2, okay? And actually, let's go down through this because I'm going to have to switch up. We're not going to have time to get through both today. Right, so let's just finish this up, and then I'll switch the homework on Schoology. If the 2 most expensive wreaths are out of stock, how will this affect the mean, the median, and the mode of the wreaths, right? So, if the 2 most expensive, so now we're excluding those 2. So what I'm going to do is write this data set down like this. Now it's my new data set, right? So now, I'm going to add all of these up and get the mean. And that's 179 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I take 179 divided by 5, it's $35.80. So it did move it. The median, how does it affect the median? Well, the median clearly is 39. We have an odd number, so that puts us right at 39. So the median goes back to the original value, right? When we took the outlier up, it went up, right? And then we have the mode, right? So the mode, I don't believe the mode is going to change, right? Because the mode is still 39. We still have two 39s there, and we'll go with that, okay? Okay. If this shop charges $8 to ship each wreath, how does this affect the mean, the median, and the mode cost per wreath? Okay. Well, without doing all of this, so if the shop charges $8 to ship each wreath, how does this affect the mean, the median, and the mode? So everything's just going to go. All right. It's just going to go up $8 per wreath. Right? I don't want to look into that too much. Let's take a peek at number 9. If the shop is offering $5 off each wreath with free shipping, how does this affect the mean, the median, and the mode? All right? All right? Everything's going to decrease. Right? Decrease by $5. That's all. Per wreath. Okay. So sorry for the confusion there on that. I'm going to switch that on the homework on the Schoology. Your homework now is going to be homework 2, right? And you're going to do numbers 1 through 8. And don't forget Khan Academy is due on Friday. Have a good day.